hiking through the mountains. What a dream. The crisp, clean air. No city dust. No traffic. Just the wild beauty of nature. Towering trees, winding trails, and the sound of your own footsteps on quiet earth. Out there, it's just you and the woods. And of course, like any journey, hiking comes with its own rules. Safety, gear, weather, all important. But there are other rules too. Older ones, stranger ones, spiritual rules. The kind that don't show up in your average travel guide. Across Europe, Asia, Africa, the details may change, but the essence is the same. There are places in nature where the veil is thin. Places where you don't whistle, don't take anything, don't say your name. Today's story offers a different kind of warning. A glimpse into the hidden laws of the forest. And who knows, one day you might find yourself in a place where these old rules are the only thing standing between you and something else. So sit back, let this play while you eat, while you work, or as you drift off to sleep. I'm Ryan. Let's get started. My dad and I took a hike on the Appalachian Trail, and he didn't follow the rules. He put us both in mortal danger. The forest is older than you, older than your God. Show respect, or be forgotten. Old Appalachians sang. The summer before I started college, I set my sights on hiking a portion of the Appalachian Trail. I had been planning it for years. Daily hikes through the woods in my town, solo camping trips, collecting gear one piece at a time with whatever I could scrape together. When I told my dad, he insisted on coming with me. For protection, he said. The irony is bitter now. I had protection. I had my bundle of sage and rosemary, coins, a lock of my hair, a sachet of salt, and iron nails I kept buried deep in my bag, passed down from my grandmother, who never once entered the forest without hers. I also had protection against more mortal predators, bear spray, a knife, a taser. But no talisman in the world could prepare me for what we'd awaken. When I showed Dad my supplies, he laughed. You mean your little bags of seasoning and trinkets? Those won't save you from a bear or a murderer. They weren't meant to, I had muttered. Rule 1, keep salt and iron on you. I'd learned that salt purifies and iron protects. A line of either could mean the difference between going home or being taken. The trailhead was too quiet when we arrived. Not peaceful, empty. The air felt wrong, like the forest was waiting for something. Watching. The leaves didn't rustle. The birds didn't sing. Dad didn't notice. He stomped along in brand new boots, whistling a tune off-key. His cheerful noise died instantly after leaving his lips, swallowed by the woods. I stayed silent, tucked the iron nail under my shirt where it brushed my collarbone, cold against my skin. Rule 2, don't whistle in the woods, my grandmother had said. It calls spirits to you. We hiked for hours. As the afternoon went by, the trees changed. The pines grew tighter, closer. Wrong. Their trunks were too thick, bark gnarled and blackened, like burned flesh. The air grew hot and humid despite the elevation. Wet, like a held breath. Light barely filtered through the thickening canopy. Even in the middle of the day, it was gray and dim. That's when I felt it. Not soft, felt. Like something massive, ancient, and cold had stirred beneath the earth and opened one eye. I stopped walking. Dad noticed and turned back. You coming, Ellie? He shouted, holding a walking stick he probably found on the side of the trail. He had just broken 2 rules in one go. Rule 3, don't speak your name too loud. It lets them know who you are. Rule 4, you never take things from the forest. Leave every stone, stick, and bone as you found it. I remembered. Some things belong to the forest. Some things guard it. Yeah, I lied, noticing we had somehow wandered off the main trail, hopefully not too far. I shouldn't have been blindly following my dad, knowing full well he didn't know how to read trail markers. Rule 5, stay out of hollers you don't know. Some places are thin, I'd read. Time folds, trails change. You might walk forever and never leave. We kept going, trying to veer back toward the main trail. Then we saw it, right in the center of the path. A pile of blackened stones, encircling a bare patch of dirt, and in its center, a bundle of twigs, bound tightly with hair. Human by the look of it. Long, reddish-blonde strands matted together with something dark. The air stank, copper, rot, blood baked into the soil. "Leave it," I said, my voice low and sharp. "It's a warning." Dad knelt down and poked at it with his walking stick. "Probably just some hiker's weird little voodoo project. Don't let it freak you out." And then he muttered, "Superstitious nonsense," under his breath. "Dad, stop. Don't touch it." But it was too late. The stick scattered the stones. The wind shifted instantly. Sharp, cold, unnatural. It cut through the trees, though not a single branch moved. Then came the whistle, not like Dad's rambling melody. This one was piercing, slow, almost human. Climbed and fell in a way that made my teeth hurt. Came from nowhere, everywhere. Behind us, ahead. Dad stood up abruptly. "Did you hear that?" I grabbed his arm. "Don't look back, don't speak. Walk now." We walked. But now all signs of a trail were gone. The trees closed in behind us. We passed the same tree again and again. Its bark split in 3 deep vertical slashes, too wide to be from a bear. "How the fuck are we going in circles?" Dad barked. "We've been walking straight the whole time." A second whistle cut through the air. Closer this time. "Run!" I screamed. We ran. Branches tore at us. A fog suddenly descended, obscuring our vision. Something moved through the trees with us, long-limbed, unnaturally fast. I caught glimpses, a shape with too many joints, a body that bent the wrong way, a face that shimmered and changed, wearing my face. Then his, then neither. Rule 6. That's not a deer. My grandmother had sat me down, a grave expression on her face. If it walks like a deer, but the joints are wrong. If it looks at you like it knows you. If it stands on 2 legs, run. Don't scream. Don't look back. Looking back is an invitation to follow. We didn't stop running until night fell, until the thing was no longer behind us. Dad collapsed onto a log, panting and pale. "I think we're lost," he whispered. "You think?" I hissed, already digging into my pack for the salt. "We should set up camp," I said. "No way we're finding a way out in the dark." He didn't move, just sat there, shivering. "Ellie, that thing. It looked like a deer, but it wasn't. Stood like a man. And its face, my God, its face." He trailed off. "You shouldn't have touched the stones." My voice was flat. "Help me with the fire." Dinner was tasteless, quiet. I didn't even bother to finish my food. I poured a ring of salt around our camp, placed iron nails at each corner. It was all I could do. I woke to absolute darkness. The fire was out. The forest had gone still, deadly quiet, like a killer sneaking up on a sleeping victim. Then I heard it. "Dad, Dad, help me." My voice, but not. Off-pitch, like a recording played at the wrong speed. The cadence all wrong. Like someone trying to speak a language they didn't understand. I froze, heart pounding. Dad was already out of his tent, stumbling toward the sound. "Ellie, where are you?" I burst from my tent and grabbed his arm. "That's not me. I'm right here." He jumped and screamed in alarm, then turned to me, shaking. "Then who the fuck is that?" "Listen." We stood in silence. Then, "Dad, I'm scared. Please help me." Closer and closer. The underbrush rustled, just past the tree line. I turned slowly. Something stood just beyond the edge of camp. Glowing eyes. Not animal eyes, intelligent. Patient. Watching. Rule 7. If you see glowing eyes, run. More rustling. More eyes. Back to camp. "Now," I whispered. We scrambled back. I dumped the rest of the salt around the fire pit in a frantic circle, hands shaking as I struggled to get the flames going again. From the trees, it came again. "Dad! Ellie! Help me! Help!" Voices overlapped, changed, twisted into gurgling laughter. More glowing eyes emerged, 5, 6, maybe a dozen, all too high off the ground, blinking out and reappearing in different spots, like whatever they belonged to didn't walk, but crawled. We huddled by the fire. I threw sage into the flames. It hissed and sparked. Some of the eyes blinked. Some just stared. Then one of the voices whispered, from right outside the edge of the firelight, "You shouldn't have touched it." The voices kept circling the camp. Some cried. Some laughed. Some whispered things I couldn't understand. Not in English, not in any language people were meant to know. The sounds grated at my ears. Dad sat stiff and pale beside me, clenching the iron nail I'd forced into his palm. He looked like he wanted to scream, but couldn't open his mouth. like something might crawl in if he did. We couldn't sleep. We couldn't even blink for too long. We waited. The fire was our only defense. My hand hovered near the salt pouch. It was nearly empty now. Something flickered at the edge of the flames. Not in the shadows. Inside the fire itself. A face. Not a reflection. A face. Watching. Smiling. Hungry. This isn't just a haunting, I whispered. It's a feeding ground. The forest had sealed us in. It wanted stories, memories, faces, flesh, and we had trespassed. We had touched what was sacred, broken the old laws. Sometime past midnight, the fire burned low, and that's when the laughing stopped, replaced by another sound. Footsteps, right at the edge of the salt. Heavy, human. Then, Ellie, you always did love the woods. I froze. That voice. It was my mom's. She died when I was 8, buried in the churchyard 3 towns over. Her lungs filled with pneumonia and prayers. I hadn't heard her voice in nearly a decade, but I knew it instantly. I turned. I had to. Something stood just outside the salt line. It looked like her. The right height. Same dress from the funeral photo on our mantle. But the face off. Melted. Smiling too wide. Eyes too big. Too glassy. It didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Rule 8. If you hear your name, don't answer. One of the most important rules. No matter how familiar the voice, no matter how sweetly it calls, it isn't who you think it is. Behind it, something larger stirred in the trees, tall enough to brush the lowest branches. Antlers scraped bark as it moved, but it didn't look like a deer. It looked like something wearing a deer. Dad was whimpering now. "This is my fault," he whispered. "This is my fault." I didn't disagree. I looked back to the figure of Mom. It leaned forward. One bare foot tested the edge of the salt. The tips of her toes blackened instantly and cracked, crumbling like burnt paper. She hissed and withdrew. Good. The salt held, but I didn't know for how long. I didn't know what else to do, so I did the only thing left. I asked for help. I pulled the last of my offerings from my pack. 3 small items wrapped in cloth. A coin, a piece of bread, a strand of my own hair. I walked to the center of camp, knees shaking, and placed them down carefully on a flat stone by the fire. Then I whispered the oldest words I knew. Words my grandmother taught me when I was barely old enough to speak. For those who walked before, for those who guard the green, we mean no harm. Let us go unseen. Rule 9. Leave offerings if you must pass sacred ground. A coin, a sweet, a bit of bread. The old ones watch. Be polite. Be grateful. Do not speak their names. The forest shuddered. The wind roared through the trees, though the leaves didn't move. A deep groan echoed beneath the earth, like old roots pulling themselves free. The figures at the edge of the salt, gone. The eyes in the trees, vanished. Even the fire quieted. The woods fell deathly silent. Not safe, not empty, but still, like something ancient had just turned its head away and decided for now to let us go. The sun was beginning to rise. "Now," I said, grabbing Dad by the wrist. "We go now. Don't speak. Don't look back. We didn't pack anything. We didn't need to. Anything we left behind belonged to the forest now." I followed a path that hadn't been there before. A trail of crushed ferns and moss, lit faintly by a silvery glow filtering through the canopy. A deer path, but not a real one. A gift, a chance. We walked. When the sun rose fully, we found ourselves stumbling out of the tree line, back at the gravel parking lot near the trailhead. Our car was still there, covered in leaves. We didn't speak until we were 3 towns away. Dad drove like he'd just been let out of prison. Hands white-knuckled, eyes wide. Eventually, he looked at me and said, "You said you had protection." "I did," I said. "And it worked?" he asked nervously. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure it had. Because sometimes the forest lets you leave, and sometimes it just follows you home. Anyway, that's the end of the video. If you've ever had a spooky experience like this, or just want to share something wild, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And hey, if you liked the video, give it a like. It really helps me going. Alright, stay safe out there, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.